Right, so I want to have a look at the Ryco Syntech Z432ST. So it's a synthetic version of their normal oil filters. It's a fair bit on the box. High efficiency nanofiber technology. Syntech gives you the ultimate in engine protection with high efficiency media designed to remove more dirt, keeping your engine cleaner. Removes 99.8% of contaminants, 25 micron max, based on the Z9 synthetic. And we got Syntech nanofiber media, 99.8 efficiency. Grit finished can for better grip, silicon anti-drain back valve, Teflon coated gasket. And got the rest of their lineup on there as well. Interested to see what sort of quality they actually have. These are quite a bit more expensive than their standard ones. We got Ryco on the inside tab. It is a pretty nice looking filter. It's got that grit black finish. Ryco Syntech, part number. Fitting instructions. Part number and date code on the top as well. So that's a pretty nice can, I think. Got the plastic cover on the top, which is always good. Stop the stuff getting in there. Right, so I've got a lot of colour there. The Teflon coated gasket. Just certainly got a nice amount of thickness to it. Very thick at 6 mil. A bit more than 6 mil. And it is quite slippery. You can feel the Teflon on it. It's not like a rubber one where it's like got the powder stuff on it to make it lubricated. It's quite nice actually. And it does fit in there well. So that's good. Got a shiny sort of end cap there, and then that rolled edge. It's a nice edge there too. We'll get that cut open and see what we got then. Okay, so we got that cut open, and I will get total weight. Got some others to compare to. 230, fairly good, fairly standard for something that size, not bad. Alright. So the end cap, it's pretty solid, it's got a nice bit of thickness in there. Holes, nice and big, lots of them. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 threads, so decent amount there, nice. Got this nice big silicon anti-drain back valve. Feels good, it's got considerably more thickness on it than some of those super cheap brand ones in the silicon, so that's quite nice. It's a little bit loose around that, and if you can see that, it's not ideal, but once they got a bit of pressure on it, it would seal around the top, and it's certainly got a good seal around where the inlet holes are. In terms of a seal on the can, yeah, that's nice. It's stuck in there nicely. A nice coil spring. It's a little bit small, but it's a small filter, so that's to be expected. It's nice to have a coil spring and not a plate. Can. Yep, that's pretty nice. I mean, it feels fairly standard apart from the paint on it. About 0.6, which is standard once again. Now, this is where all the fun happens, I suppose. A nice synthetic media in there. Nice metal end caps. Little baby bypass valve in the bottom. In terms of space in the can, uses up pretty well good. It doesn't move around that much. There's not a whole lot of space taken up by the locators. And when it sits in there with the spring and the valve, it sits up fairly high, so it's getting a fair old lot of compression on it, which is nice compared to some. The media looks good. There's not really any glue spills. Got a nice crimp center tube, and a crimp joint and a crimp center tube down in there. We'll get this media cut out and have a good look at it. Okay, so I got all the media cut out of it. We got the big nice synthetic media, and then the steel mesh that goes behind it. Keeps it all good and strong. So there's really nice even spacing there, and it's good, there's definitely no complaints there. Spiral tube. I mean, it could be a little bit thicker. The middle here is quite thin, but I mean, that's fine. I don't think that's going to cause an issue. In terms of the length of this, I was a bit worried because I'd heard that the synthetic versions can come with a lot less media than the standard. But in the one of the other videos, we did a fleet guard version of this filter, and that come in about 1 meter 150 mil, and this is 1 meter and 50 mil. So yes, it is a little bit shorter. It's got this in it as well, but it's not really a considerable difference. And they've fitted that in there by making, this is the fleet guard center tube, by making the center tube smaller. So this one here, it's about 32 mil. Fleet guard's a fair bit bigger. That's got about 37 mil center tube. So using the, have a more closer look at the media in a minute. Using the fleet guard as sort of a baseline to compare this filter to. The fleet guard base plate's got a lot more weight in it, but the holes aren't as big. This one's certainly designed for high flow. The threads are about the same. The spring, I like the fleet guard spring a lot more. That's this one. It's a bit heavier and a lot bigger as well. In terms of the gasket, it's a bit of a hard one. This has got a nice form-shaped gasket with a lip on it so it stays in. And this one doesn't, but it's got the Teflon coating, which I haven't ever used one with one of these coatings, but I assume that it would help a bit with it going on and coming off. And in terms of the internal gasket, it's a bit of a shame that the Ryco has got a bit of slop in there. It's the fleet guard just sits on there nicely. It's got a little bit, but not as much as that. But then that's just rubber as well instead of silicone. And the cans, they're about the same. Big difference is the fleet guard uses your standard paper, and this has got the cellulose. So if it came down to a match of internal components, the mechanical components of the filter, I would go with the fleet guard. Like, I like the spring and the seals and the way these are built. Got a bit more thickness and that in them and that. But the media is a big, it's essentially what the filter is what it does. And having cellulose is, I mean, it's just standard. So you're going to get what, like something like 97% efficiency, 30 microns or something. And this is 99.8 at about 20. And that's not saying that Ryco is better than Fleet Guard or vice versa, but this is a performance, it's a special high performance one from Ryco. If it was between the Ryco standard, if the insides look like this, versus Fleet Guard standard, I'd definitely be going with this one. But we'll have a quick look at the media under the microscope and let's see what we got. It's quite nice and soft. It's very nice and soft media, but it doesn't feel fragile either. It feels pretty good. In terms of quite hard to tear. Gonna have to cut that. Set on the microscope and have a look. Right, so that's the synthetic media under the microscope. It is quite nice. You can see in there all the very fine little particles and the strands that are going to stop all the tiny little particles. It's got its multi-layers, so that's a good quality synthetic media. It's quite nice, I like that. And the wire, it's not really anything special there, but it just holds it together a bit better. So there's no question that this is a good, high quality premium filter. All the components there, what they say is in there, and I reckon it does a good job like they say it does. All this stuff's pretty nice. All this spring and all that. Now, comparing it to others, it's a bit hard because I haven't compared it to others in this sort of calibre. To give you an idea, this filter costs about $30 from Super Cheap and more from Repco, and this here Fleet Guard filter is $6. So if you're comparing the standard, if this filter wasn't synthetic, I would be going with this one. But given that this is a really nice synthetic filter, it makes the decision a bit harder. So it depends what you want to do. If you don't mind spending the extra money on $30 oil filter every time you do your service, then I'll probably recommend this one. It's nice. It's a really nice media, guys, and it's going to do a great job of filtering for you. And there's not really a little amount of it, so it's pretty good. If you want to save a few dollars every time you do a service, then there's not going to be anything wrong with something like the Fleet Guard. It's a real good quality filter as well. It's just let down by the fact that it's cellulose, but it is just a standard filter. It's not a special one like this one is. So there you have it. There's a Ryco Syntech oil filter.